Hope you're all doing well. Thank you for your time and thank you for stopping by. I have an announcement of sorts to make. A long time coming, Immune for Life is soon going to be in a Kindle publication. I can't remember how many years it's been since the hard copy came out, but this has been a long promised update to this very important book. So I thought I would just give a brief overview of each chapter and introduce you to the book. The first chapter in the book is The Living Immune System. Why is mammal milk a life-giving force for immunity? Colostrum is an important part of mammalian evolution that most mammals literally cannot survive without it, and the human mammal is no different. The foundation of optimal health of each newborn mammal begins with colostrum and ends with an optimal period that differs across species of later lactation milk before proper weaning for the lifelong benefit of the mammal. Learn why colostrum in mammal milk is so important. So why is colostrum in later lactation mammal milk so important? I usually cover just a few of the most important reasons in each chapter in the science part of the book before going on to the how to help correct these deficiencies that develop in these children. And there is no doubt that they know now why these things happen and exactly what is happening. So mammal milk is so important because the placenta is not effective at transferring antibodies. The infant has an immature immune system throughout childhood. The infant's immune system remains immature and functionally naive at birth. This lack of prior exposure to pathogens causes a lack of immune memory, and this condition continues throughout childhood. B. breve, found in breast milk, balances the immune Th1 and Th2. So the infant's immune system is set, as well as the mother's immune system is also set. But after birth, the mother easily, within a few months, returns to her previous immune balance, whereas the infant does not without the proper development of the microbiota and the immune system. Colostrum develops the immune system, and the mother's final gift to her newborn is the gift of her breast milk, which contains a variety of antibodies designed to help the infant grow and develop, including the proliferation of stem cells and regulation of gene function. A mother's milk can be seen as the weaning stage of her newborn's immune system, as an initiating factor for its own development and defense system. A healthy microbiota is required for host homeostasis. The WHO refers to human milk as the nutritional gold standard for infants. Human milk contains many immunomodulatory compounds, including oleosaccharides. These non-digestible sugars, oleosaccharides, show a direct bifidogenic effect on the gut. In addition, maternal bifido is the champion colonizer of the infant gut, and this is these probiotics are maternally derived and passed on to the infant. And what the child's gut is primarily colonized by bifidobacteria before their healthy, mature microbiota begins to develop. Oleosaccharides act independently of microbiota, however, probiotics exert a profound influence. From homeostasis and immune development, as well as nutrition, growth, and future protection, it is increasingly clear that colostrum is the post-birth life-giving force of all mammals. So, this research, this current research, is generally credited to Dr. Jeffrey Gordon, who is known as the father of the microbiome. Dr. Jeffrey Gordon's work was crucial in developing understanding of the immense role the microbiota plays in childhood development. Researchers found that malnourished children's microbiota failed to follow the healthy pattern they identified in healthy children. Gordon's work suggests the microbiota of malnourished children is immature, lagging in development behind that of their healthy peers. Supplementing these children's meals with widely used therapeutic foods that increase calories and nutrient density reduces deaths from malnutrition, but it does not fix their persistent microbiota immaturity. Perhaps more insidious than this slowing growth is malnutrition's effect on the less visible aspects of health, including impaired brain development and dysfunctional immunity, which follows these children throughout their lives. Over the past 20 years, this work has revolutionized our understanding of human biology, implicating the gut's microbial residence in orchestrating healthy growth and development. When these communities work well, and in causing disease when they do not. So this was later, this development went on and on and on for many years. And I'm going to, Dr. Gordon's work was twin studies. I believe it was in Malaysia. And you have to remember at this time, or before this time, many decades before this time, malnutrition was prominent in Asia. It was prominent in poor countries. In fact, formula feeding, mass formula feeding began in Asian countries long decades before it affected the West. So they were probably 40 years ahead in the effects of not breastfeeding as compared to the West. And earlier, during that time in the early 1900s, mass production of infant formula was introduced. This is a processed food. And at the same time, scientists were also just realizing the effects of malnutrition. So in countries, in Asian countries, specifically Japan, which is where it was developed, you had the general effects of malnutrition. Scientists were trying to understand and overcome these effects of malnutrition. But at the same time, the most important factor regarding malnutrition was also beginning to show up. And some of the effects of malnutrition didn't begin to show up in the West until World War I and World War II. So you had some coinciding factors where the world was beginning to understand both the effects of malnutrition. And then as they were working to overcome basic malnutrition, And then these diseases and new diseases began proliferating. It wasn't until many, many years later, generally around the 1980s, that the effects of the microbiota and breastfeeding in particular, microbiota development and breastfeeding in particular, began to take shape. So things were kind of going back and forth simultaneously with a limited and rudimentary understanding of how each of the roles that food and the roles of breastfeeding were playing. But today we know several things, and that's just one of them from Dr. Gordon. And by 2016, they began to realize that milk was a crucial postnatal imprinting system, stabilizing FOXP3 expression and regulatory T cell function, T cell differentiation. Accumulating evidence underlines that milk is a complex signaling and epigenetic imprinting network that promotes stable FOXP3 expression and long-lasting trait differentiation, crucial postnatal events preventing atopic and autoimmune diseases. And this is from Clinical Translational Allergy in 2016. So by 2017, WHO introduced an extremely important millennium goal in which they determined there were 3 critical factors: breastfeeding, food security, and water security are major protective factors against malnutrition and critical factors in the maturation of healthy gut microbiota, characterized by a transient bifidobacterial bloom before a global rise in anaerobes, early depletion in the gut bifidolongum, a typical maternal probiotic, known to inhibit pathogens, represents the first step in microbiota alteration associated with severe acute malnutrition. Later, the absence of the healthy, mature anaerobic gut microbiota leads to deficient energy harvest, vitamin biosynthesis, and immune protection, and is associated with diarrhea, malabsorption, and systemic invasion by microbial pathogens. A therapeutic diet and or infection treatment is unable to restore bifido and HMGM. They further go on to recommend antioxidants and restoration of the gut microbiota from the start to help alleviate these conditions. So, if you were one of these poor children in these poor countries, and you were facing one of these top 3 critical risk factors, if you were facing all 3, that is not breastfed, lack of food security, and lack of sanitation, the chances of you making it past age 10 were slim, and they still are slim. Most of these children succumb to diarrheal diseases. If you are in the West or in an industrialized country, and you just suffer from lack of breastfeeding, but not lack of food security and improper sanitation, your outcome is much better, but it is still detrimental to your health. And those are just an overview of the reasons why, because not only does this help set up chronic inflammation and oxidative stress, it also leads to malnutrition that can't be corrected and a host of other problems that I just named, such as vitamin biosynthesis, deficient energy harvest, and immune protection. And that is a mitochondrial issue there. deficient energy harvest, lack of vitamins, and lack of vitamin biosynthesis, which is conversion, and immune protection. So, okay, that's just a brief snippet of the things you'll find in chapter 1 in Immune for Life. And I'm looking forward to announcing the release of the ebook on Amazon, and I will let you know. And in the meantime, just due to the fact that a hard copy book is always beneficial, and as I said many times, the information in my book will never be obsolete as long as you're a mammal, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. In fact, these conditions are only proliferating. They get worse with a bad diet, and most people and most families are generally ending up with 1, 2, and 3 autoimmune conditions being diagnosed in their offspring. So this work is crucial, and it is never going to be obsolete. Much of the work in my book is historical, and some of these components described in the book, they began to observe the benefits of them as long as 400, 500, 600 years ago. So that's just one reason why my book will never be obsolete, because it highlights what is absolutely known now, as well as the understanding of these components in history as what was known decades, if not centuries, beforehand. Okay, have a good one, everyone. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you next time. Bye.